I want cybersecurity to have machine speed automation at internet scale. First, some calibration on where I'm coming from. I'm old. 1978, worked for AT&T's Bell Laboratories back when there was only one telephone company, the Bell system. All Bell Labs engineers had to take a course called Engineering and Operations in the Bell system. The main messages were automation saves money and working at scale saves money. I got involved in cybersecurity before it was called that back in the 1980s, but my first real introduction to offensive hacking was in 1990, being part of an Air Force team doing offensive cyber operations, preparing the battlefield for Desert Storm. In the early 2000s, we were screen scraping the internet registries for what would now be called reputation analysis. And dealing with the AT&T scale, I was the one who talked Aaron and then the other registries into having an API to save our screen scraping, and then talk them into having bulk downloads so we could look it up once and use it many times. Even 15 years ago, I was dealing with cybersecurity on hundreds of millions of devices and billions of events. To get automation at scale, I'm an advocate of IACD, Integrative Adaptive Cyber Defense. Independent functions with vendor-agnostic APIs. Sensing, sense-making, decision-making, acting. Sensing, get the SBOMs for a device. Sense-making, augment with information about licenses, vulnerabilities, do the license and vulnerability analysis once, use it many times. Decision, add it to the network or sandbox it or patch it, whatever, based on your security policies. Act, send the OpenC2 commands to do whatever you just decided. SBOM is clearly the components in the dependency tree from sensing. The topic is where to put the analysis information. The detailed exploit mitigation information is clearly in VEX and is more human-oriented. The question on the table is whether to have a single field for a given component, not the finished product, but the component that is a list of known vulnerabilities, i.e. CVEs or whatever else you use against that component. I liken CVEs to licenses. For most components, for their entire life, it never changes. For some components, a CVE gets published, and then you have to associate it with the component. Similarly, licenses can also change. For most components, licenses remain stable for the life of the version, but some licenses change, particularly commercial licenses. The question is, does sense-making enhance the SBOM with the CVE or create a new document to handle decision-making? The SBOM will clearly need to be passed. It's not clear to me VEX is useful for automated decision-making, but it could be passed also. I just think it's cleaner to pass one doc for licensing and vulnerabilities rather than passing 2 or more documents. I'm guessing there are others attempting to do similar automations, since both SPDX and CycloneDX are already adding the CVE field. I'd prefer a CVE field in the SBOM, but I could live with having to create a VEX, as long as the VEX is machine processable by the decision engine. Since this is a Department of Commerce activity, let's let the market decide, and I'm willing to put money where my mouth is. For those willing to take it, the wager is dinner for 4, 5 years from now. My spouse, myself, yourself, and a guest. I pay for it if it's all done with VEX, or the CVE in the SBOM is rare, i.e. less than 100 million transactions per day using the optional CVE field in the sense-making to decision-making API. You pay if they're greater than 100 million SBOMs with CVE transactions a day. Let the market decide. I'm sure the cheaper, more scalable solution will be more prevalent.